department. So just, you know, there are different type of department. Today I'm using EMH Med Surg. It could be anything. So for those that don't know the department, sometimes you're talking to the end user, they're like, oh, what department? They shouldn't be asking you that, because they should all know the department they work in. But just in case they have the wrong department here, and sometimes most of them work for different departments. They work as med surg, they work in the ICU, sometimes they work in the emergency department, the ED. Some of them are float. So all you have to do is click on the magnifying glass. This will show them the most recent department they've logged into. If they don't have the list here, they can go search and find, let me see, once they type in the name of their department, they see all different, they type the name of the organization, they see the different department they work in within the organization. So we have the admitting, anesthesia, you know, audiology, the different department here, blood bank. So I'll go with the med surg. Or let me try and see if there's ICU here, ICU. So there's ICU as well. And I can log in as an ICU nurse, and I can change my department to med surg. So I'll go with med surg today. So once they select the department they want to log into, they will accept and then continue. Okay, so this activity, startup activities, my startup activity today is the brain. It's different for everyone. So depending on the department they're working at, but mostly they try to start out from the brain. Sometimes it could be in the patient list. Sometimes it could be their unit manager, dashboard. So just depending on the organization and what their startup activities, you know, what they want to put as their startup activities. Yeah.
From the brain.
Yeah, brain is just a function for inpatient. So though, because I know I've been teaching ambulatory for a while now, it's the same idea. There's some few things that are different in terms of inpatient. The brain is mostly like, give me 1 second. Let me find a good example. The brain is also used like to triage patient, and then to triage
Also,
patient.
We
Okay.
can't see your screen. Sorry, we can't see your screen.
Oh, you can see my screen? Oh, sorry.
No.
Let me see. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see the unit manager that can you see my Epic screen?
Yes, we can, but I don't know how you got there. So as soon as you put in the department, then this popped up.
Oh, okay. So when I logged into the department, it takes me directly to the brain. This is my startup activity. And the brain also acts like the patient list. So like I said, it depending on the organization and what their startup activities is. And then startup activities are just, once you log in, the very first page you see when you log into Epic is the startup activities. So for instance, the brain here is the startup activities for the department I logged into. So it's different for everyone. And then if I remember in ambulatory, our startup activities is the provider schedule. With this is the brain.
Okay.
So the brain has different activities of within the patient. It has the storyboard. You can go here to remind yourself of anything. Maybe call a patient. You can remind to call the family. You can use to view the vital sign of the patient. So with the brain here, you can see my discipline, all discipline. You can see the meds, lab, assessment, to-do list. You can decide to hide all of them. You can decide to just click on the stuff you want to see. For instance, I want to see just the medication. You can see what medication each patient is on. If you see on my list here, I have a couple of patients. So we have the Jamal, we have Denise, the Molly, and then different names here. And if you see, when you see this icon, is a medication icon. With this, it says 2 medications. So they're currently on 2 meds. If you kind of hover over it or maybe click it once, it gives you more information of the medication they're on. Okay, so let's say I don't want to see just the medication. I want to see the labs they're on. Once I check mark the lab here, you see when you see this icon here, this icon stands for labs. You can see what patient is on, what labs they are on. Unfortunately, none of this patient here are on any labs. So let's see the assessment. So the assessment, you see like you can see this like a Excel sheet here. Some of them doesn't have any number. One of them has like 2 number. So those that have number by their side means they have a pending assessment. So with this, he has 2 assessments. We have the release and the released. And then the same thing to-do list. So if you see this here to-do list, they have 2 to-do lists. Go to enter/edit result for POCT glucose. So they have like a lab order that they have to result that they haven't resulted yet. This is just what they stand for. And then a quick page I want to cover with the brain is with inpatient nurse. The first thing they want to do is sign in. So you see this the sign in icon I clicked on the top of the screen here. So you want to sign into what department you'll be working today. So with this, I'm working on the EMH med surge, and it shows I have just 3 selected patients. And it says I'm also working on the okay. Yeah, this is all the patient they have in the EMC med surge. I can easily select the patient I want to be assigned to me, or I could just leave it to be able to view all the patients. Once I select the patient or the department I want to be working, you want to update the sign in. Okay, and then okay, so this also indicates once they not start, once they're starting their day, once they log into Epic, this is the first thing they see. They want to sign in, and then the other part they want to go to is the patient list. So as well, they want to go into the patient list here and sign in. Just the same way they can sign in the department they'll be working today. I will uncheck this pediatric. And mind you, this is a practice environment. It might be a bit slow. Just bear with me. Okay. For some reason, it just took expound the med surge here. So I'll just leave it. Just the most important part is to get the concept. Okay. Can we all put ourselves on mute? Thank you. So the most important idea is to get a concept. So with this, like I said, you can select the patient you want to be working with today, and you just unselect them just to view all patients, and then update the sign-in. So the patient list is just the same as the provider schedule for our patients. So with the patient list, you have like different departments. We have the unit. We have so if you see the my list is the whoever we're logged in as. So they can easily go in here and customize to add more stuff to their list, just like provider schedule in ambulatory. So once they go to edit list here, they can create a new list. They can create a reminder list. They can remove the list, and they can properties where you click to edit the list. So what you see, the option they see right here, which is the bed and location, the patient weight problem, this is where to add them. So you see this available column is a column they have within the system, and the selected column is the one they currently are using. Just like this, you can always remove what you feel is not relevant to you, and then you can add more stuff. So let's say with this, they want to see a provider or the. Did someone say something? Okay, they can add the provider, like the attending provider. So once I click on the attending provider, okay, let me see provider or attending. Okay, I have two options. So the capture is the heading, while the description is what it's for. So you can see this is the first attending display the patient attending provider. This information appears as each attending provider is named on a separate line. So I mean, I like that. I want to see, as a nurse, they want to see what the attending provider for each patient is. So all they have to do is select it and add the column. So what else would they like to see? It depends. Most nurses they want to see different things, like allergy. Allergy is a very good one. If you want to see what your patient is allergic to, once you click that, you can see the allergy here. You want to add it to the column, and then let's say I want to add isolation to see if the patient is on isolation. Once you click on that, we have like this again. We have different options. The first one, this column display the patient isolation status. This one display the list of active isolation for this patient, highlighted in yellow. So I should just go for the first one to make it easy. There are currently too much selection column. Okay, it says I can add more because we have too much selected column. Let me see the ones I'm not using here that I can delete. Maybe I don't want to see the weight. I would like to see the weight when I'm in the patient's chart. I can remove the weight. The problem list, yeah. Notify nurse, maybe I want to see that. Other management is important. Primary contact, code status. Let me just remove the primary contact here. And then I have this one there. So I can just accept this if I'm done adding, but I want to go to, let's see what the rest of the function is. So we have the advanced, and this is just if you created my patient list and you want to share it, or you want to give a different user access to it, this is the place to go in there. Whatever user you want to give access, you can put in their name here. You select them. What access you want to give them? There are different access you can give them. You can add/remove patient. If they can add/remove patient from your list. They can change the accessibility. They can delete your patient list. They can modify, or maybe view only. You just want them to be able to view it, but you don't want them to be able to edit anything from the list. You can select that here. So this is what this advanced is used for. Epic monitor. So this is just to monitor some of the functionality, like the bed location, patient problem. So this is what the number of overweight and then the group name. I'm not sure what this tool is used for. So I won't go into much details over it. But as soon as you get this is the most important there, available column, and then this advanced tool if you want to share it with someone else. So once you're done, you want to accept it here, and this should update. You see it's loading, and now it's updated. So you can see let's see the isolation that I added, it's here. And we have the attending provider, which is Chris here. Allergy that I added is also here. So with the list, we have the list you created, that I created, I customized, and we have the system list. You can always create and edit the list that you created, but the ones the system created, you can't. There's nothing you can't control that. Only the analysts that built that, they can only do that from the back end. So we have the unit. So the unit is mostly system list found in the unit subfolder, and display all patient current admission to a particular unit. So as patients are admitted, discharged, and transferred to different units, you should be able to find them here under my unit. So let me see what option we have in my unit here. So this my units create a login department, and it's mostly where the unit of your organization. Let's see what this is to unit department on. Okay, with this is only display for your login department. It doesn't really give you much information about other department here. So if we're logging into EMH Med Search, that's only what you can see. So, but if you see the available list here, this Epic Hospital, you see my unit here, you're able to see different department here. You can, so let's say you will log into EMH, but you want to find UNH and Med Search, but you want to find more information about other departments, or you can, instead of you logging out and trying to log into different departments just to have access to this, you can go to our available list. If you click on that, they should be able to give you different patients from different departments. You see, let's say the GI. You can see the patients, there are different patients here in the GI, which is the this guy's here, Alex. Let's try ICU, ID emergency. You can see there's different patients from different places. So this is how to track patients to see, for instance, they say, oh, that we have a patient from a different department. Instead of you logging out of your department to see where the patient is, you can easily just go to available list, look for the department, click on what department it is, and you're able to track the patient here. You guys get the concept? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. So we have this all my patient. So this is all patient from the EMH, which is here, all patient assigned to you, all attending at EMH. So for some reason we have just one here, but if there's more than one attending, they should be listed here. All consult. We have no consult at this moment. PCP at EMH, no PCP. Treatment team. So there's different people from the treatment team, and this could include different provider, and this also include the nurses. And if there's a CNA or MA nurse practitioner, they all should be listed here as well. So another column is if you click once on the patient, it gives you more details here, like a report on the different status of the patient. You can see the treatment team. Here you can see registered nurse Sydney. You can see when a shift started and when a shift is going to end, a contact information. So let's say I'm Sydney and I'm done with my shift. I can easily just sign out here. The other way to sign out is just going through here and signing out. So once you sign out, it takes you out of the treatment team for that patient, whatever patient you're seeing, and then the rest of the nurse knows whoever it is that is like working on the patient, on the patient. So for instance, every nurse, whenever they start their shift, they are assigned to different patients. So whatever patient they are assigned to, for instance, this is my patient here, or I want to be assigned to a different patient. There's different way to add yourself to a patient list, a patient care team. The easy way is just to right click on the patient here. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, right click on them and then assign me. So if you want to be assigned to this patient care team, you want to right click, give you different option. Print list, you can print all the list out just to be able to track your patient. You can assign yourself to the patient list. You can end your assignment. Mostly people end their assignment, maybe if they're done with their shift, or the patient is being transferred, or they reassign the nurse to a different team, they can just end the assignment. They can assign other people to the team. They can end the assignment, the treatment team, assign team, remove team, list membership, add to reminder, copy patient, send to. You can send to the selected share list to the unit workflow safety metrics. So let me, with this patient, I'm going to assign the patient to my team list. So the following will not complete the relationship to RN, okay? Provider already assigned to the patient. So it's saying it's already my patient. So I just continue. If it wasn't already my patient, it's going to assign it assign the patient to my list. So let me try something else. Let's say I went to the login department. So this is a different patient entirely. Let's try and assign one of this patient to our treatment team, or assign ourselves to the patient treatment team. So I right click, assign me. And now you see this patient here. Once I go to my list here, see the patient is at the top of my list because I just assigned myself to the patient team list. Okay, and so this is how just patient list here. Patient list is mostly where the clinician just goes in and look for their patient, view all the meds due. If they have any due medication, they can see everything here from the patient list. They can see any required document here, overdue. So we know this aid to toll assessment is overdue. The pain assessment is overdue. The vital sign, height, and weight, they're all overdue. Required within 24 hours. So within the next 24 hours, I'm working with this patient, I have to put the ADL assessment. I have to put the ADL device assessment, the care plan, fall assessment. I have to make sure I conduct all of this with the patient during my shift. We have the restraint. Restraint could be the different type of restraint. So especially in the inpatient, sometimes those patients struggle. Sometimes they being outpatient. If the patient the clinicians can easily restrain them. And then in order to restrain a patient, you have to put in a restraint order, but I will cover all that later. So if there's any restraint on the patient, you should be able to see all the information here. New orders. If there is any new order put in by the provider here, you should be able to see order here. You can acknowledge the order, acknowledge the section. It takes you. So there's no order acknowledged at this time. Let's see, go back to new orders. Let's see. Hello? Are you actually, someone saying anything?
No.
Oh, okay. So this is, what did this go to? Let's try someone else. So every order that needs to be acknowledged should be here, but something just disappeared from here now. But RX message, RX, and whenever you see RX is start from pharmacy. So if there's any message from the pharmacy, you should be able to see them here. Workload activities. So there's any activity going on like the ADL assessment, LDA care, orders, womb, discharge, medication weeks, everything should appear here. And there's the weeks assessment, there's handoff. And then this is just a different report. If you don't like any of the report here, you can easily go the different type of report here. Like this RAD is stand for the radiology report. There's none found. You have the readmission weeks. Is calculate none. So you can easily go and modify or add any of the button back here. So there's any report you want to add, you can easily go here to add. So because once you're in the clinic, they ask you, oh, we want to be able to see, let's say for instance, they want to be able to see provider answer from the report without going to the patient's chart. You can add that here. Let's see something else that might be checklist. You see like the call measure checklist, you can add that there. Whatever report they want to see, just go in here. You can easily search them if they're in the system and add them. Workload activities. Okay, so there's one there, so it's duplicate. Let's find something that is not there. Okay, input and output. You can add them there. You can accept.
What does that mean? What does input and output mean?
It's more, input is, I'll cover that later. So it's just like if you're inputting something like once you put in drip into the patient, so anything that goes into the patient is input, anything that goes out of the patient is output. But we're going to cover that later once we're covering the flow sheet aspect. Yeah. So there's also a different report here for some reason. Let's see, let me load the report. There's a nurse follow-up dashboard. There's a dashboard nurse clinical metrics, discharge barrier, late transcript. Let me try the nurse follow-up dashboard. Let's see. So this is just load. The dashboard is just a different report you like to see. The different type of dashboard. This work list at the glance. So this tells you things that are released. The POCT, which stands for post. It's the lab. This is saying you have to put in the result, enter edit result. Once you click on this, it's going to take you to the section. So these are all the pending results for the patient. You can really put the value here and then change the status to final. So most of us that we did ambulatory, we did cover how to enter edit result here for lab order. I'm going to close that to go back to the patient list here. And then you remember, sometimes you can, if there's an arrow here, you can close the arrow, you can expand it back to be able to view the dashboard. So once you're done with that, the next place we'll try and go into the patient's chart. So once you're in the patient's chart, how do you get to the patient chart? There are different ways to get in the patient chart. The most easy way is double clicking. And then mind you, the same way in this patient list and even on the brain, you can easily document whatever it is you want to document on the patient. You can, so let's say you want to put in an order, you can just click to do.
Excuse me, how do you go to the patient chart again?
To the patient's chart. I haven't gone to the patient chart yet, but I'm going to go there next. So I'm just showing you most of the stuff you do within the patient's chart. You can also do it in the brain or from the patient list. Like you can jump into flow sheet from here. You can click and the MA, which stands for Medication Administration Record, the care plan, and other medication. You can easily do them here. So let me try and click on the flow sheet. If you click on flow sheet, it takes you directly to the patient chart towards flow sheet. You document flow sheet. That's a way to go into the patient chart. Another way, if you don't want to go into the patient's chart, is just by double clicking on the patient name, and that takes you to the patient's chart directly. And then it takes you straight to the summary, And within the summary, we have the system review, we have the patient story, we have overview, we have the active medication, which is active orders. We have the call sign. So we have the index, event log. If there's anything going on, for instance, if the patient is undergoing a procedure, event log are just logs of things going on, like the input and output, the vital sign, when you administer the medication, everything going on within the patient. It's all documented here. So the last event log was a vital sign, which was the 9/16, and then which is for today. And I think I did that today. I was playing with it earlier before the class. The one that was from yesterday, which is pain assessment, and then some medication given. You can see all the event log, and then there's some for yesterday as well. And the good thing about Epic, it tells you who did it. With this, you see the Sydney did it, and you can see if someone else must have done all of it, it's gonna the clinician's name is gonna be here. And we had the intake and an output, like you were asking about, Olu, here. And this is just view only. I mean, you're able to document some stuff, but this is like a quick way to view what is going on. So right now we don't have any of the input and outputs here. If we have any information in record, you should be able to view them here. So I'll go to the system review. So with this, you can easily see the vital sign. Sometimes the nurses, they want to see the vital, even the provider, without really dipping or going towards the patient into flow sheet. Because you should be able to see the vital sign in flow sheet. This is where you document it. But how do they see everything at a glance without actually going to where you document it? Your summary is a good place. You can see the vital sign. You can see selected lab if there's anyone. Respiration. You can see disease, different type. Line, drain, and airways, LDA. You can see all of them here. And then if you don't like it, there's also a way to customize your report on what you see. So you can, once you click on this magnifying glass here, you're able to see, if you want to just see maybe the active order, just click on this. It tells you whatever order is, active order is on the patient. And then another thing here is, whenever you see this range, this setting sign, it's you customizing what you see. So once you click on the range here, it's an add or remove tab from the toolbar. You can also modify report layout. Modifying report layout is like, sometimes it's like, oh, I don't even care about the inpatient active orders. Although they can't delete it, but what they can do is drag and drop where they should be. So I can decide to put this and put it at the bottom because I really don't care about it. And those that I really care about, I can drag and put at the top. Let's say I care about the labs. I can drag this and put at the top of my list here. So that's just how, whenever you see this range, you can easily customize whatever you see. And this controls the summary. The range here control what you see at the top of the header here. So let's see what okay, I did that. Let's see, remove tab. So this is the storyboard inpatient. Let's say I don't want any of this. I can easily click the ones I don't really use and then remove it. And if there's anything else I use but it's not there, I can search for it, and then disaster summary, and then add them. It's going to appear the disaster summary. Once I'm done with this, I can accept. And then any update I made is going to appear here. And to navigate, to customize this, which is the header, I can also go in here, the wrench in here. Once I click that, with this, the same thing, I can drag and drop wherever I like. If the let's say MA is important, education is, everything here is important. The ones are not that important are the one hidden here. But let's say even the ones that are hidden are still, I want to use it. Let's say, let me see which quick FY immunization. Let's say I want to know, or episode. Or no, let's say enter edit results. It's something I always use. I can easily just drag and drop them here. And it's going to appear on in my header here. The ones I don't use, I can select them and put them back here. Once I'm done with that, I accept, and it's going to update here. See this enter edit result I just added? It's right here. So another important part is the chat review. So chat review is mostly view only, but if you want to see everything about the patient, where as long as they're seen in Epic, you're able to track them through the chat review. And the chat review is document and view only. You can really document from chat review. So with this encounter, it's showing me the current encounter. But if you want to see other encounter, let's say the patient has been to his primary care doctor, or maybe the patient has been at any other place except me. What I want to do is there's this hide additional visit here. Once I uncheck that, it gives me every other additional visit the patient has. So we can see other only visit, we can see abstraction, and we can see registration. So once you click on it, it gives you more details. On the abstraction, this just say they probably abstracting some data, put it in some data for the patient. Excuse me.
I'm sorry, what would you say an encounter is?
Encounter could be, there are different type of encounter. So encounter is whenever you have to go or document something in the patient chat. An encounter could also be in-person encounter whenever you see the patient face to face. So like this instance, there is order only encounter. The patient wasn't seen face to face, but probably the provider placed some order for the patient. And that's why it's called the order only or counter. The abstraction is like chat abstraction. So maybe they went live in a new system, and they are transferring information from the old legacy system to the new, into Epic. So they can create an abstraction. So abstraction is like abstracting whatever data the patient has from his old system towards the new system. Registration is just maybe they're registering or booking an appointment, scheduling an appointment, putting his information like his insurance details and payment and all that, guarantor. Those are registration encounter. So there are different type of encounter. So let me show you. An example is, I ask people, the very first encounter is, well, this is outpatient, inpatient. Inpatient is different. Outpatient, you want to schedule an appointment, and then you come down in your appointment. With the inpatient, it could be different scenario. You might decide to go to ED. The patient might decide to go in ED, like emergency. So that's an encounter. It's going to call the ED at the encounter. Once they admit, let's say they saw the patient in the ED, and then like, okay, we have to admit the patient. And then they transfer the patient from the ED, which is the emergency department. So let's say the ICU, maybe the patient is a COVID patient. They have to transfer him to the ICU because he can intensive care unit because his situation get worse. So immediately they transfer, that's different. At that, there's going to be an admission encounter. So there's different type of encounter in Epic. An example, let me see if I can. So with this is an outpatient. It's kind of different. With the inpatient, I can go towards encounter and just show you the different type of encounter we have. But this, an outpatient also, an inpatient sometimes also schedule an encounter. Let's say the patient wants to have a surgery, and they have to call, create a case for the patient and schedule a surgery for that patient to conduct its surgery. So there are different type of encounter depending on the scenario. Just know encounter is when they engage with the patient in different type of way. It could be in person, it could be documentation, it could be through the emergency department or while performing a surgery for the patient. Does that make sense?
Yeah, can it also be a telephone encounter as well?
Yes, telephone encounter also is part of it. Once you call a patient or the patient calls you, you can also use that you can document that as a telephone encounter. I think with this asset, it's going to be triage for inpatient. So for inpatient, it's triage. Let me see, it should be somewhere here. So it depends on where you are and what department you're logged into with what different thing you're able to do. Let me see. Yeah, I think because I'm in the ICU, just because of their workflow and work functionality, I'm not able to access some stuff here. But immediately I go to a different department, they should be more, I could be able to see triage because they actually do call patient. Because this is just an ICU. What I see and their job function is totally different. And before the class end, I might just maybe log into a different department just to show you guys the difference.
Okay.
So yeah, and the chart review is mostly to view. You can see the notes on the patient, and then plan of care. I'm going to cover that later. There are different type of notes that could be that are created. So I should be able to see once I always remember to uncheck this add additional note or add additional encounter. But these are just the note that I created as a nurse, and then probably next week once I log in as a provider, you guys might be able to see more different function and different, there will be other stuff that the nurse doesn't have access to, that the provider does have access to. So I can also see the labs. If there's any pending labs, everything should be here. And in this patient, he has just one pending lab, stone analysis. The imaging, if there's any imaging, and it should be here. Cardiology, if there's like an EKG order, things like that should be here. Especially the patient I use doesn't have most of this, but let me try and see if I can use a different patient and see if they would have that. Give me 1 second. Yeah, this patient doesn't have much too, and it does have a pending med. And mind you, this is a practice environment, so once you're in supporting a user, it's a bit different. It's more of a live environment, and they should have more information in the system than what we're seeing now. So just the concept, the chart review is to view all the patient record, just to view only. And if the provider or the nurse, how can I tell if the patient have labs in or the medication in and any other thing? Just the first instant is like, can you check, go to the chart review. So with the chart review, you can check any previous encounter they have, and you can check the notes. You can go to the cardiology, the procedure, medication, LDA, and all of that. And then with this as well, just like the ones I showed you, you can always bench it in. You can, once you click on the manage, you can put in what you want to see. The ones you don't really care about, you can take down and then accept it. Okay. And then next is the flow sheet. As a nurse, once they start their shift, they go into the patient list, view any pending order, about the patient. The first thing they do, especially once they're with the patient, is go into their flow sheet to document the vital sign. And with the flow sheet, just like the same thing as rooming, the flow sheet starts as the same thing as the rooming in the outpatient. So you want to be in the flow sheet to document any vital sign, like the temperature. If you want to put any temperature for the patient, this is where you put it. And then it depends, like for instance, and the patient, the system is so smart. Let's say I put 90 degree and add, it's going to tell me the temperature is greater than the maximum allowed value. But I put like 37.3 and click enter. It's automatically convert that for me here. And then it asks you, is it oral? This is where you can select, is it oral? the temporary skin, whatever selection you want to select here. And then once you show the end user where to document this, they really know what all this means. So once they see it, they understand. As a consultant, sometimes we don't really understand what those medical terminology is, which is fine. The most important is like ask you, where do I document the vital sign, oxygen? You just take them to where to document it. The heart rate, and then this is where they put it. And sometimes if they have any comment, if you see this paper icon, this is where to put comment. Sometimes they put in the figure and they were like, oh, but I wanted to add something to it. Just ask them to add it to us into the comment. And if there's any comment, one they hover over it, whatever it is they put in the comment appears, which is testing here. The heart rate, they can put in the heart rate, they can put in the respiration, the blood pressure, the BP location, the method, patient position. And sometimes, let's say, like for inpatient, not like an outpatient document the vital sign maybe once while during the visit. With inpatient, depending on the complaint policy, they sometimes document it, let's say, every 5 hours or every hour or every 2 hours, depending on the department you're working and the situation of the patient. To add the vital sign, you can either add column. The add column will take you to the current time. So right now, in my area, it's like 10:56. Once you click add column, it takes you to the exact time. And let's say you took the vital sign, but you're not able to document it in Epic. But let's say you took it like 2 hours ago. So if you want to like in document things from the past, you want to insert column. If you insert column, it lets you tell you what time, what date, and time. You can like, okay, you did it like around 8:02. You can select it, accept, and accept. It takes you back to 8:02. And you can easily document what is it you want to document around that time. So add column is to document for the current time. Insert is where you can document for the previous time or past time. Does that make sense?
Okay, so when you create the column, you can always go back there to add. So for example, you see where you have the 2/19/21, the time was 6:30. You can go to that column and add additional information. So if you're trying to do like a BP or temperature for that, can you do that?
Yes. So let's say, this is an hospital setting. Depending on what department, especially if you're working in the ED, it's a fast-paced. You don't have time to document anything. So eventually when you have time, you want to go back there and click on select column. With select column, you're able to document whatever time you did it in the past. Add column is when, let's say you just took the vital sign and you want to document it right now, then you can put add column, automatically take you to the current time.
Or do you mean insert column, not select column? You just said select column.
Yeah, sorry. Insert column is to choose the past time. Add column is to choose the current time.
No, so I guess my question is, so for example, that first column we're looking at right now, the one with 6:30, can you click on the temperature? Let's say you're trying to input. Yeah, you just click on that. Okay, yes. So you're allowed to type it in, right?
Yes, then you can type it in again.
Okay. Oh,
good. Goes there. So yeah, you can, whatever it is you want to do, you can type them in here. And then you can also go back and edit it as well. If you feel like, oh, what you type in is wrong, you can always go back to each column to edit it. If you want to add more column, maybe you forget. So you can do them by an hour, you can do the 2 hour, So it depends on wherever you're working. And sometimes, those patients, especially in the ICU, they are hooked up to different machines and they have to like document all these things in an hour basic or in 2 hours basic, things like that. So this is a way to add and then insert is to go back to document things you must have missed. Okay. And then the concept is all the same. If you want to put oxygen, this is where you put the oxygen, the O2, and then select what is appropriate. The same thing, you can add column. You can add column. You can also insert column here. The pain management. So this is more like an assessment. They're like, oh, you're feeling pain, and can you rate the pain 0 to 10? So we want to use the 0 to 10 to define it. What type of pain? And let's say you're having a chronic pain. And then location, where it is like in the back, and then pain orientation, let's say inner pain. So, and sometimes you see, if I put all this here, I also get I also get some function here to just help me determine my selection, especially if I'm not sure of what to put in. But this is where you insert it. You see, I click the pain descriptor. It's, it is a dull, headache, inchiness, whatever it is here. And whatever I select here goes towards the chart. Okay, I can select them here. The pain upset, ongoing, is it resolved rapidly, worsening, And the ones you don't have an option is probably wanting you to free text. So you can just ask the effective pain dialysis. I really don't know what that effect of pain on daily activities. Let's say what is the effect it's giving on daily activities? I say can't eat. And then this patient started pain goal, let's say 8. Pain intervention, let's say, this is where to document all this. And the what is it called? The clinicians, they do understand this, because even if they're using a different system, they document all of this from their different system. And once you show them, they ask you, where can I find this? You just go, as long as you know it, you can find it in flow sheet, and the rest, they know how to go with it. And sometimes you don't see the option here. The first thing you do is click on the magnifying glass here. Look if whatever it is they want to document is not here. You can search for them. Let's say they want to document let's just put assessment here. Let's see, and if you don't find it here, you go to facility, you go to database. Let's see, what other pain would they want to do? Let's say let's say pain. So this is pain assessment. If you don't find, the first thing is going to take you here. It takes you to the preference list. The preference list is what the selection you have within your organization. This is what they've created within your organization. If you don't find it there, you can go to facility list. So sorry, preference list is within your specialty, facility is within your organization, and database is within the entire Epic system. So if they don't find the selection here, they can easily go here to search, and they can choose whatever it is they want to choose. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but how did you open up this
Okay, I'm going to go out here. You see this magnifying glass here that says vital sign. I'm within the vital sign section. And that's why we have a vital sign here. So let's say I want to find something else. You clicked on this, and you can easily just type this.
Okay.
And then if you don't find whatever, first of all, when you type pain, I don't see anything in the facility list. I go to, in the preference list, I go to facility list. It gave me more option. Let's say I can't find the option I'm looking for. Then you want to select the database. The database give you more option of where to find from. So database selection is within the entire Epic database. Facility list is within your organization, while preference list is within your specialty. Okay. So you can select whatever it is you want to find if it's not there. And if you can't find it here, and then maybe you want to put in a ticket, especially if they use it. If they sometimes the nurse is like, well, we always use a Medicare assessment, but for some reason we can't find it here. And then if you search, facility list, preference list, and database list is not there, this is the time to put in a ticket to the analyst to create, probably create the assessment because it's not in the system. So the same concept, you want to, pre-populate all this. And there are 2 ways to save whatever function you put in here, whatever selection you make. You can either click file here. If you click file, it's automatically save it. Or you can also just, if you, close out of it, let's say I go to notes and I come back here, it automatically save every selection I made too. Okay. And then you can go there's the height, weight, there's the observation, there's order, there's different type of selection within the vital sign. So you want to go to basic assessment too. So the basic assessment has different assessment depending on what the patient diagnosed. You know, if the patient have a head or ear injury, this is where you want to go to do the assessment. If he has a chest pain, the skin pain, you know, whatever it is, the patient is there for. This is where to put it. And then the input and output. So the documenting the input and output. So mostly nurses use the input and output in flow sheet to document the intake and outtake. So like I said, intake is what goes in, outtake is what goes out. And there are different type of intake and outtake. So your intake and output, sorry. Now there's a standard role. There is a role of recording occurrence of unmeasured output. There's a group for assessing each type of output. And there's a group of documenting the IV medication. So IV medication is like the drip they put in. So it's, if you want to also put the blood into the patient, that is a good way to do it as well. And sometimes they even use all this to document when they, like tube, when they, some patient, they can't take anything in, they may be, you know, probably they have some respiration problem. They can't eat anything, they can't drink anything. This is a good way to document whatever they put in there as well. And then sometimes they, you know, they can't use the bathroom, probably their bladder, you know, they have some issues with that. They're taking out urine from their body outside, or even taking out feces from their body. You see this urine assessment. This is a way to document all that as well, stool and all that. So if they ask you, where do we document this? This is a good way to document all of that. The intake assessment, once you click on that, each one you want to put in, it gives you more option. This tool, you give you more option to that. If it's blood you're putting in and putting out, it gives you different options of how to document that as well. So I don't even know how to what measure to be putting in. You know, but I'm sure they understand because it's their job. So once you click on the, you know, it asks you urine, you know, whatever selection you want to put, you put it there. And then you have like other section here, small, large, and urine color, you can go orange, you know, urine appearances. I'm just putting different information here. And then urine order, no order, additional, if you have any additional, you can put it here. And then bladder volume, you know, things like that. Once, you know, they understand better. And the same concept, if you want to add any stuff, you can also add a row here as well. Just like the other one, you can add column or insert column. So whatever it is here, you can put to document. The same thing with blood, you know, and this blood. And sometimes with those blood, you know, everything you put in, especially in an inpatient facility, you have to put in the order. So with the blood, you know, I'll show you how to put in order and then how to document it. But this is normally in inpatient, every patient has like a scan, like a barcode. They have a wristband with their barcode before putting any medication. They just scan their barcode, scan the medication. The medication automatically documenting the map. But for class sake, because we do not have the barcode, I'm going to just do it manually. And sometimes you're in the hospital and probably their barcode isn't working or something goes wrong. You still have to document them manually. So I'm just going to show you guys how to do that manually as well. Okay. So then the same thing with IV assessment. This is where to go with the assessment and IV property, the dressing type, you know, different type of assessment we have here to document. And we have the daily care and safety. If you want to put any safety measure here, this is where to put it. And like I said, if you want to save whatever stuff you document, you can either file it, and then let's say I don't want to file it, I can just go to a different page, tab, and then come back. It automatically save everything I put here. So if let's say you did a mistake, like, oh my God, this is the wrong patient, you can just go in here, backspace everything you do, delete them out. If they make an error, delete them out, because it files automatically, even if you don't click save. It saves itself once you leave the page. Once you delete them out, and you can file again, and you see everything is gone. The same thing with screening. You go in there are different type of screening. There's nutrition, there's abuse screening, consult, This is a way to go in there and document whatever outcome they have from different screening. The suicide screening, and this is where they go put in their different selection in there. And then once they're done, they can file it themselves. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. So they
it does.
Oh, okay. So flow sheet is just like the rooming for inpatient. In outpatient, I know we went through outpatient, and for inpatient, it's the flow. And like I told you guys again, it's been a while I did inpatient. Yeah, I mostly do outpatient because I know most of us are going to be supporting an inpatient clinic. That's why I'm covering this. As time goes by too, I'll try to refresh my brain. So in the next class, I probably will be giving you guys more information, and I'll be more than prepared, And then the support I have today is also inpatient. I'm working in the oral uptime. So, that would also refresh my memory a lot as well. And then hopefully our next class, I can also go into more details. So right now I'm just showing you guys the functionality just to, familiarize yourself with different function from an inpatient. And then, in the next class, it's, I'm sure you guys should make more sense in our next class. Okay. So the flow sheet is where you document all those, once the vital sign, basic assessment, and all that. So the next one I will show you is the MA. And MA stands for Medication Administration Record. So normally, if you want to put a medication for a patient, they just scan their barcode. Once you can scan their barcode, it automatically goes in there. They scan the patient barcode and they scan the medication they want to put into the system. Once they scan it, it automatically registers here. It goes into the MA. And then in the MA, there are different ways to see what is going on. If you want to click Show All Details, which shows you whatever the patient is taking. It shows you if they are overdue, like he has one due at the 1900. And why? Because this is an inpatient facility. Let's say the patient that has like some pre-existing condition, not pre-existing condition, they have some pain. And then due to the pain they're having, they prescribe ibuprofen for them. And with the ibuprofen, they have to take them, let's say, every 6 hours. So once you put select the medication, you want to put part of it is, you see this here, it said every 4 hours PRN, moderate pain. So every 6 hours, the system lets you know, due medication, you have to give the patient the different medication to help with the pain. And then, of course, if you want to, before putting in the medication, of course, the provider have to put in the order. So once they put in the order, you want to go release the order. Once you release the order, you can then administer it. This is just showing that you would give the patient the medication and you're administering it here. You're administering the medication there. And then mostly the nurses are responsible for double checking every medication they are giving to a patient and making sure they are putting the right medication in, and then making sure they are administering every medication at the timely fashion. And then, so the RX, sometimes they send the RX, which is RX, like I said, whenever you see RX, it starts from pharmacy. So sometimes they want to, maybe order more medication, or they want to send message to the pharmacy. Probably the dose of the medication is wrong, or, they do reach out to the pharmacist for different reasons. So you can select the reason, adjust time, the barcode doesn't scan, order, request dose. Probably they want to request more dose for the patient. They type it in here for the pharmacy and then send. So whenever you have any medication for the pharmacy, you should get this. This should like pop out. You can click on it and then you can see what the information from the pharmacist as well. And then this sign here, we call it the ledger. So the ledger is a different colors that tells you what, if you see all these colors here, it all means something. So if you don't know what it means, you can click on the ledger and you can see this like a gray color start from active. The yellow one start from discontinued medication. This light gray brown color start from completed. This start from future, MA, and old medication. So let's say, why would you want to hold a medication? Most time, if let's say the patient is on ICU, but you guys want to send the patient to, let's say, to radiology to get a scan, CT scan, and every drip you're giving him, every lab, you can put them on hold because they're gone. And then once they get back, you can take out the hold as well. It could be held by provider for different reasons. It could be cabinet override, on the fly, linked, read only. So this is what this medication is. Why would you want to get read only if you don't have access? Sometimes you can only read it, but you can't change it. Pretty much things like that. And with this, you can see the scheduled medication, the PRN, continuous respiration, due override med. So if any medication that is override or due, you see them in this section. And this is override pool. This is the CHIMO. And then this shows you everything. Okay. And then how do you administer a medication? Let's say your scanner is not working. You want to administer a medication on your own. You want to go to the time you administer the medication here, and then you want to double click on it. It's going to take you. It can open a page for you. And firstly, the medication has to be in. If the provider has to place the medication, you have to release the medication, and then you can document it. I'll show you guys later how to place the medication, how to release it, and how to release it. So this aspect is documenting the medication. And then when we talk about medication, it could be labs, it could be drip, it could be any of that. So the action given. So is it due? Is it given? If it's due means, it's due. And then you want to, so normally the system which will update if it's due. And if you want to give them a different one, you can select giving. You can give in during downtime, self-administer, maybe it's the pump refill, not given. Or if you want to hold the medication, cancel entry, return to cabinet, hand off, override puff. So let's say given, because we want to give the patient the medication. The date, the time, which is 1900 that I selected. If you have any comment, this is the place to put a comment. How did you give the patient? They said aura, which through the mouth. The site, it could be, especially if you're giving in the drip, you want to select what part of the body you're giving the patient. And then how many doses, like one tablet, you can put one tablet. Any associated role, you can put all this information there. And once you're done, you want to accept it. Once you accept it, you see, this says given one tablet at a certain time. So this is how you manually document your MA. Does that make sense?
I don't know. I'm sorry if you could go over it again.
Okay.
The time. Thank you.
Okay. So the MA is where you document any medication given. So once you get, let's say if they're giving the patient the drip, if you're giving patient the pain medication like ibuprofen, any of it, you want to make sure you're documenting it in the MA. So normally there should be a scanner and a barcode. You scan the patient's iron tab. So once you're in the hospital, they give you a band with the barcode there and their information. So the nurse want to scan the barcode and then scan the medication they want to give the patient. So in this essence, because this is a practice environment, we do not have access to the barcode here. So that's why we're administering it manually. And this happens. Sometimes you'll be in the hospital, their barcode is not working, or things happen and they are not able to scan in the information in. But once you scan the information in, everything goes into, you just accept. So how do we do it manually? The first one, we can select whatever time we'll put it in. And then if you put it in the future, because this is 9, I think it says 9 a.m. I think the time now is about 11. So you can see this here just shows 11 because this is the current time. So let's try and document it in the current time. Here, let's say double click on this. Okay, and this is telling me because I already gave the patient, it said based on this.
It has gone back to, it's not showing anymore. It's not.
Oh, give me 1 second. Let me see what's going on. Okay, are you guys able to see it now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, awesome. Sorry about that. I didn't realize it went off. Okay, so like I explained, if you want to document the medication manually, you want to go to the selected time you give the patient the medication. You want to double click on it. And this is telling me important based on the frequency, this medication is possible because I already gave the medication out. But let me use a different one that I haven't used. This is this injection. You want to double click on the time. It will open the page for you. And then you want to put in the action. Action is what you're doing. It could be, is the medication due? It could be, are you just giving the medication? Or are you giving during downtime, self-administered, pump refill, not giving, meaning you're not giving the patient the medication. Are you holding the medication, meaning you can hold medication for different reasons. Let's say the patient is moving from our department to a different department, like he's going to the radiology department to get some x-ray or to get a different examination and they're coming back. You can put the medication on hold until the patient returns. You can cancel the entry. You can return to the cabinet. You can hand off, and then you can override the pool. So let's say I want to give the medication. You select giving. You put the time, the date you gave the medication. You put the time, and then how was the medication given? The site, what body part did you give? Because this is a drip or injection. I'll put the and here. Dose is a 2 dose. Associated workflow, it asks for time given, the medication given reason. Why are you giving the medication? It could be for pain. I select pain. And then pain assessment, what pain is the patient having? Let's say worst or worst possible 10. Once you select all this information, you want to accept it. You say, I accepted it, and then it's given here. Does that make sense now?
Yes.
Okay, this is just a way to document that you give a medication. And sometimes, let's say this is due because of this is a pain medication. You should give him 3 times daily, however hours. It's due because the last time you gave him, let's say it's 5 hours, every 5 hours, and it's past due 5 hours. You want to renew the medication. So you can go to the due, double click it, it's open. The action is also given, both eyes, and then you click accept. And it's from this overdue, it changed back to given because you just gave it. You see that? So that's what the idea of the MA is all about. It's just, to give medication. If you scan it in, it goes into the MA automatically. But if your scanner doesn't work, you can also just do it manually, just like this. Any question regarding the MA?
Can you also reconcile a medication from the MA?
No, you can't reconcile medication for the MA. The MA is just where you administer the medication.
Okay.
Okay, and then from there, I will go towards the managing orders. So with this managing order, like I said, we are going through the provide and the nursing workflow, especially in the hospital settings. Mostly the provider put in the order, the nurse just go in there to release the order and then administer the order to the patient. And then once they give the patient the meds, they document it in the MA. So I'll go to manage order here, which should be orders here. So the manage order, we have 2 different. You see, we have the active order, we have the sign and held order, we have all med, manage labs, and order history. So I'll try to explain what everything means here. The active order display a list of the patient active orders. Grouped by orders type, physician can make the change to those orders from the tab. The sign and held order include orders that are signed and held. Clinician can release, modify, and discontinue any sign and held order from this tab. So this here, it has the list of every order that is signed and held. Unfortunately, let me refresh it. There's no sign and held order at this time. And mostly I should, because only mostly the provider put in the order, I won't be able to show you an example unless I sign in as a provider, put in the order and held it. Okay, you know what? Let me try that while we're here, so we can use one of that as an example. And I'm going to put in a discharge order for this patient, and I'm also going to put in a different order. So let's see. Okay, give me 1 second and make sure I have the order. Okay, so the patient is Faba Jamal. Okay, I'm going to sign out. I'm going to sign in as a doctor, as a physician, and then place the order for the same patient. So let me know if it stops sharing for some reason, because sometimes it stops sharing when I log out and sign back in. Okay, I'm logged in as a provider. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, I don't think this is a patient. Let's see. Okay, this is a patient here. Let me start by assigning the patient to my list here. And then let's go to orders. So whenever we cover the physician workflow, I'll tell you guys more about what the doctors does. But for class purpose today, I'm just gonna go ahead and just place the order. And then let's put in a different, so the pain medication. Okay. Ibuprofen order, accept. And then I want to place another discharge order because we're going to use that. Again, let's see, discharge patient here. And everything you do in inpatient is mostly order. If you want to discharge a patient, you can put in an order for discharge. If you want to transfer a patient, you put in an order for transfer. So I'm just going to put a discharge order. So when we're in that working on the discharge, everything is there. I don't have to sign back in. I'll put today, or discharging him to go home. And then let's say in the afternoon, accept, and then let's sign here. Oh, okay, so I don't even want to sign, but it's signed. Let me just choose another one. Accept, let's say, okay, sign and held. So this is what I'm doing, is putting in an order set. Order set is just I'm going to tell you guys more about it when I cover the provider aspect. So order set is just more like, instead of putting in one particular order one at a time, as a provider, once I know what I'm treating the patient for, like with this, I put pain. It asked me what type of pain. I choose anesthesia, acute pain. And it gave me normally what a provider will use whenever they are diagnosed with such, whenever they have such problem list. And then I can go in there and choose whatever I want to order for them. So I just choose a vital sign. I choose a pain medication. And it depends on what they do, they can choose as much things as they can. But what I want to do, instead of signing in, is put sign and L. I don't know if because we're in a practice environment, it's not giving me the option to sign an L. It's just giving me the option to sign. Let's see, yeah. I can only sign them, but I can't hold them. Sign and hold is mean it won't be released until until whenever the order. Okay, let's see something else. Let me see lab order. Okay, it's not letting me hold them. It just asks me to just sign them. Normally, it should give me an option of signing or sign and out. But with this, I'm just able to just sign without holding, but that's fine. I'm going to log out now and log back as a nurse. So what I did now, I put in the order for the provider, mostly put in the order, and then nurse goes back to act on the order. So I'm going to log back in as a nurse. So this is a patient here. Let me try and double click. You see, I'm in the brain and I double click, it's then taking me to his record. So if whether you're in the brain on the patient list, you can also double click to get into the patient record. And it's telling me sign and out order exists. Go to order release. You see this? All the order I just put in, I'm getting notification. Sign and out order, sign and out transfer admission order exists on this encounter. Go to the order release. See, it's giving me every notification about the order the provider just put in. So let's say I'm on, let's say I'm in patient list here. So I go to my patient. Once I click on him, I can go to new orders and I can see all the order here. And this tells me these orders are put in and I can acknowledge all of them, meaning, okay, I as a nurse, IP nurse, whenever the provider put in an order, part of their workflow is to acknowledge, like, okay, I saw the order and I acknowledge that I saw them and I'll act upon them and I'll act on them. So I can either acknowledge one at a time, it disappears, or I can acknowledge all of them and they all disappear. Does that make sense? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. So I acknowledge the orders. Let me go back to the patient chat by double clicking on the patient and then going to my orders here. So these are active orders. I have the sign and out orders. Let me see. See, now, before there was nothing here, that's where there was no order in. Now I have all this order in here, and I have the choice to release them, modify them. Sometimes you can modify them here. You see, I click on the order, I can easily release them. Once I release them, meaning I can do them. So mostly provider, maybe for instance, they can put the order in 5 days in a row, especially if they know they'll be seeing the patient. And then whenever the patient is in for whatever procedure they want to do on the patient, the nurse goes in on that day of the procedure and release the order. They don't want to release the order unless they want to act on the order. So if they're not ready to act on the order, they just leave it the way it is on sign and help. Whenever they're ready, they can act on the order. So let me just keep, and then co-sign. And like I said, this is sign and help, but if it's a co-sign, let's say a nurse put it in order in, we can always put the doctor as a co-sign if we want any doctor to sign in. Because based on security, there are few things the nurse can do. The nurse can sign a POCT order, like a lab urine test and all that, and they can do that and sign it without co-signing the provider. But if they put in more like a medication, like ibuprofen, Tylenol, any medication like that, depending on the workflow for the organization, they have to co-sign the doctor because they do not have access to be signing those medications. So that's one example of that. OMED is mostly include a report of all medication and the status of those medications for admission. And it also include a link to reorder medication. So this include any medication the patient is currently on. And then you can also, you just put in today, whenever they're on, you can cancel the medication, and we can also reorder the medication from this place here. So just like in outpatient, when you reporting all the medication the patient is on, when you want to say taking, not taking, it's pretty much the same concept here with the home med. So the manage labs is any pending labs they have. This is where you go to manage each labs here. And then other history is all history the patient was on, the one they're currently on, the ones that were discontinued, the ones that they did in the past. You can find all of them here. Okay. So with this, I'll just, with the active order, you can, like I said, you can modify it. So let's say the patient doesn't use this anymore, or they change the dose for her. You can go in here and modify to put any the new dose here. Once you're done, you can accept. Or let's say the patient doesn't use the order anymore, you can discontinue the order here. Let's say you want to put the order on hold because the patient is somewhere else. You can click hold. And you can see all that here. And then ask you why you reason, why you holding the order. You can put loss of IV access, fluent imbalance, other reason, and then type in the reason here. And then accept. So this is very important too. And then let's say, this is for different reason, and sign and help. Let's just release some of the order. Okay, because I think part of the order I want to sign and help is I might have discontinued them or put them on hold. Let me put discard change, and now I can see it here. I can click this and release. So once I release this, if I go to the MA here, let's see. The order should, okay, let me see the name of the order again. Active order. So that should be, ibuprofen. Let me see if it is ibuprofen. But once I released it, the order, okay, this is it here. You see? The order appear in the MA because you see the workflow, the provider put in the order. After putting in the order, I went in as a nurse to release the order. And once I release the order, that's saying I'm going to administer the order. Now I have administered the order. I want to give the patient the order. You can see they're all in red stop. There's a red sign here. There's a red sign here. And the red, which is the red stop, means the hard stop. Meaning they place the order, I have to administer the order. Continue administering. I can choose where the line, so this is like a drip, the injection. Add new line. I can select where I'm putting in the line in here. Placement date, placement time here. Is the type, the left location. And once I'm done with that, I can accept. Does someone have a question?
Yes, I do. What does LDA stand for?
LD what?
LDAs.
So it stands from line, drain, and airways.
Okay.
So it's just like the line, the drain, where you're putting in, and then the airways.
Because I was calling it LDA, and the nurse was looking at me like, what do you mean by LDA? So I said I was going to ask. All right.
Yeah. And then in outpatient, unless where you work, I know you work, most of your provider, they work in the hospital, in the inpatient, and then work at the outpatient. So maybe you get that. But the outpatient doesn't really use all of that. Unless if they work in both outpatient and inpatient, and sometimes it appears because they give their patient drip and all of that. So it's, as the system is so smart, it's flagging me. It's like, oh, the flow sheet data for this chart correction. If it's possible, it is better to correct the information listed. So Epic is smart. So every information you put in, if there's something that doesn't make sense, it's going to let you know, and then you have to override. And what I just tell the provider, just review it, make sure you're right, because everything you do in Epic, it's on your name. So if you make a mistake, it's on you. So you put in reason why you're overriding it, and then submit, and then you accept. So this automatically goes to the other one that other order, and then the same thing, you put in whatever it is, the part of the body, and once you're done with that, you accept. Not verified by pharmacy. And then if I had an ad stop, I go to the ad stop, it said not verified by pharmacy, not verified by pharmacy. Because once you put in any order, you sign it, it goes to the pharmacy immediately. And the pharmacy, they put the order, they send the medication to you guys. And if there's any issue going on, if they have any message, this should be a yellow icon flashing like you have a message from pharmacy. And if you want to send any message to my pharmacist, like I showed you guys, you put it here, you send too. So this is going to remain red icon until the pharmacy verify the medication we're putting in. Okay. And then once you're done with that, let me go back to the order. And then same thing, the next want to review all this order with the patient, and then release every order put in by the provider. Go through all their own medication, making sure are they taking it or not taking it, things like that. Med reconcile is mostly called med reconcile. And once you're done, you want to mark as review. You mark as review, and then there's no current labs here. So everything they do want to make sure they mark as review. There. And so once they're done with this, and that's just how the manage order is, mostly the provider do the rest for the manage order here. And the next thing I'm going to be showing you guys is the plan of care of plan and education. So care of plan is just mostly, once you're seeing the patient, it's just like the patient instruction. And if, for instance, the patient, they have like pain relief or pain or psycho patient, so they put them under a care of plan. The care of plan is mostly like, okay, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, things like that. Just the instruction the clinician gives to the patient. So once you go to the care of plan, you want to go to the managing care of plan. You can add new care of plan here. Ask you what care of plan you're giving. It is a general patient management. They select which one they want to do. Like I said, you don't really know all this. We don't know all this because we're not clinical. So our job is to show them what to do, how to document it. I don't know what care of plan they want to put in. I don't know what the patient is diagnosed with. They know that. Based on what the patient is diagnosed with, they can choose the option here. So the priority, they can put, is it high, is it low, is it medium, expected end date. So if they want the patient to be on this for the next 5 months or 1 month or 3 months, you can use the date match by N+1, which is stand for 1 month tab. It takes you there. And then psychosocial needs, the priority, is it high? You put the priority there, you want the end date, let's say 1 week plus 1, meaning in 1 week. Let's put this high, let's put 1 here. Y plus 1, start from Y, which is year, plus 1, meaning in 1 year. Discharge barrier. Let's say, is there any discharge? I was like T plus 1, which is today. So adult pain, medium, I'll just choose a day here just to show you guys how, the different options. Once you're done with this, you can click next, and then it gives you the problem. And this, based on the plan of care we choose, it kind of auto-populates everything for us based on what we want to do. And this, you can see a smart phrase there. We can go F2, select what moderate we want to put in, click enter. It kind of pre-populate for us. And this, like I said, they can free text, and it depends on what they want to put as a clinician. I don't know their job. So my job is to show them where to document it. So whenever you see a smart phrase, make sure they choose the accurate smart phrase. And then this takes us to the wildcard with the 3 asterisks. This is where you can free text. You want to play it out and then type in what they want to put in. And then those of us that are new, I know some of this might sound foreign. Just bear with us as a first class. And then as we go by, it's going to make more sense in the second and third class, especially when in the ambulatory, I kind of covered what the smart phrase means, the wildcard means, and all of that. And just because we have some, some of us this is our second to third go live, I'm just kind of using, going straight to the call. But after my second class, I'm going to start again with ambulatory with you guys, because I know some of us are also going to be supporting ambulatory, and then I will go back again from the basic to show you exactly what everything means. And then those of us that have taken the class over and over, you can join it if you want to refresh your memory. And if you feel you're comfortable, you don't need to know all of that, you can also skip the class as well. So once you put in the wildcard in, you want to sign the care of note. Once you sign it, another one they want to do is the education. Education is just like to educate the patient. Let's say you want to educate them on the care manager and pain management, on self-care, everything you want to educate the patient on, you select when you want them to start it. Once you don't want them to start now, you put it there, and then you just put it there. And then all this is going to print out in the patient AVS. So once we discharge the patient, we'll go to the AVS, and AVS stands for after visit summary. So whenever, and then actually for patient, it's after visit summary. The inpatient is also the patient instruction. Whenever they are going home, whenever they discharge them, there's a bunch of printout that goes home with them. So whenever they take that, everything we did on them, their patient care, the summary, the medication we gave them, the note, everything should be on the after visit summary, and the patient can kind of track everything they did, every care they took care of, what they treat, the medication they are on, and all of that will be on the after visit summary. It's also called the patient instruction for inpatient. So once they select all they need, they can resolve it here. You can just pend it. If it's unresolved, let's say it's resolved today, you can click resolved, and then why they ask you what reason for resolving it. Education complete, resolved, and it's resolved the education. If it's not resolved, you can just leave it open, and then the patient can take home with them. And then whenever it's resolved, you can come here to resolve it anytime it's resolved. And then that's more like for the patient education. And the last one we're going to be covering is the navigation. So there are different reasons a patient is going to, whenever you're an inpatient, there are three reasons. And mind you, I'm covering, this is a nurse workflow I'm covering. In admitting a patient and doing all of that, it will go through a different process. First process is the ADT, which is admission, I believe, discharge and transfer. So mostly the front desk covers that. I taught you guys just like cadence of inpatient. They call them the front desk. The module is called the ADT or Grand Central. I won't be teaching you guys that. And then today, and if any of you happen to support any of those, just let me know. It's a different process entirely. I will teach you. It's gonna be different though. But then this is where this is a unit manager. Unit manager is where you see what patient is. You can easily go in here, unit map, and transfer patient. If you want to transfer, you can just easily drag and drop a patient to different department to transfer them. You can also transfer through the unit manager, but I won't be covering this today. So if you see this, we have a direct admit and transfer center. We have the incoming transfer, and this is the department we're in. To transfer someone from incoming to my department, all I have to do is drag and drop. Okay, it should do something to act more, drag and drop. Let's see, let me see. Let me try a different one. Let's right click here. Okay, so that's how to transfer, but for some reason, it's not letting me transfer in that way. Let's see something else here. Treatment, resolve, update. Okay, transfer. You click transfer here. It takes you to a different page of where you want to transfer the patient to. So you can, when do you want to transfer it? Let's say today, time now. We're in the HSS hospital. What unit do you want to transfer the patient to? Let's say I want to transfer the unit to ICU. What room? Let's say the clerk from they prepare the room. They're telling us room 101 is good. You select the room, And then service of care, cardiac ICU, level of care. You select the level of care there. The provider, you just select any provider that might be taking care of the patient there. And then is either you pend it or you transfer the patient. And it's telling you the bed is already occupied. So whatever bed we choose is already occupied by someone else. So mind you, I do not see, there's a different department that take care of all this transfer. That's why I told you I should be logging in as someone else entirely. That I can see the open bed, I can see all of that. But what the doctor do, we put in a transfer order. Once we put in a transfer order, it goes to the different department for transfer, and they go pick the order and then transfer the patient there. But let me just try this one more time, see if it's going to let me. Yeah, the bed is occupied. That's why that's part of the reason I didn't cover it in this class, because it's just a different process entirely. So let me pen this here. But that's why you can unit manager to track the patient to see where they are. You can also use the unit manager to transfer the patient. So what I did is just right click. You can set a preference, event encounter, update the patient, discharge the patient from here as well, and go back to bed, create a different appointment for the patient. But mostly the nurse here doesn't do all this. Someone else on different department take care of all this. So I'll just stay on course so I don't confuse you guys. So admission as well. Once they transfer, they admit the patient. There's a different reason they want to admit the patient. Like I said, the patient might be in the ED. They feel the patient, the patient might go to the ED, or then they feel, okay, you need to be admitted. They transfer to you guys, and you guys go in here. You see any medication put in for the patient, you can release the medication here if there's any, and then you go to traveler screening, and this is admitting a patient. Do they have they come in course with anyone last? Let's say yes, maybe it's a COVID patient, yes, and then select any of this, yes, and then accept. Let's say it's a COVID patient, and then the vital sign. This is where you're seeing the patient, you're admitting the patient, you put in the vital sign. You can add a group, add a row here. You can take the patient temperature, that is 4.5, tab. And then temperature source, is it orally, whatever it is, you did the temperature source, you put in here. The heart rate, you want to put in here. Monitor, let's put monitor. Respiration, you put in the respiration. The BP, blood pressure, you put here. Their pulse. Once you put everything in here, the pain assessment 0 to 10, the pain is in 9. Pain frequency, rarely outgoing. So I'm just choosing random stuff here, just for the class purpose. So most of what I put in are incorrect. Okay, multiple pain side, you put the 6. You put different pain stuff here, and then acute pain. So once you're done with all this, you go, interpret service. I don't think this patient didn't interpret here. Interpreter, I don't think that we need to interpret it. Allergy. Are they allergic to anything? Let's say no known allergy. If they're allergic to something else, you can type it in here. Let's just put egg. They're allergic to egg. And then you put it in there. Accept. And then you always want to mark as review. And then review power admission medication. So these are all the medication the patient is currently on. You ask them, are they still taking any of this? If this yes, taking. Actually, this is part of one I did in MedRec. It's all populated here. You mark as reviewed. And then the home med, you want to go to home med here. Are they, taking yes, no? Once you review all this, you go to the history. And this is just the workflow of admission. If they're able to talk, and if they're not able to talk, they're in pain or emergency, you won't do any of this. You just go admit them and then come back for this. But if they're able to talk, they want to get as much information as they want to get. Military history, if they have anything, gender, whatever gender they identify, you can put it here. Immunization record, if they have any, you put it here. LDA again, if they have any, you can put it there. So with this, because I did order some recently, I have it here, which is here. If I want to remove it, it's a good place to remove it. But I'm going to remove it during discharge. So we'll go over order when we're discharging the patient. Directive, healthcare agent, implant, if they have any implants, belongings, nutrition, all this, you can do all of this. Discharge plan, so they go through all this while admitting a patient. Best practice and med-rec status. So this is the process you go when you go to navigation. If you're admitting a patient, this is the process you go to admit the patient here. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. So once you put in everything, then before admitting the patient, if you want to transfer the patient to a different department, this is also the place you go. First of all, the doctor will put in a transfer order. Once you put in a transfer order, you want to go through all this information for transferring, and then they go to the unit manager and then transfer the patient through the unit manager where I showed you guys earlier. And then discharge. If you want to discharge a patient as well, this is where you go to go through all the discharge order. You want to make sure the best practice. After the best practice, you go to the discharge milestone. If there's anything you have, every plan you have, you can either stop the plan, you can add a delay, you can add a milestone there. You go to disability status. If they have anything, you put it in here. Belongings, you put it in there. If they have any belongings, return, what are they returning to the patient? Jewelry, their belonging, the cell phone, money. If they're anything they're returning to the patient, they put here. If there's any LDA, which I said we have one that I put in. If you want to remove it, let's say, well, of course, if they're discharging them, you have to remove it. You click remove or access any of those selection they want to choose. Wound resolution, if they have any here, there's nothing here. Their goals, I put in, if they have any goals you want the patient to accomplish, you can put in the goal here. Let's say quit alcohol, you type in whatever you want them to do here, you accept. So medication details, these are the medication we put for them. Let's say you want to take this in the morning, afternoon, evening, bedtime as needed. You put it all here, you close. If you want to notify the provider, you can put in instruction, notify provider if you're still feeling the pain. So whenever instruction, so whatever they fill in here, it's going to go to the after visit summary again that the patient is going to be taking home. So if they have any diets, miscellaneous orders, follow up, if they want to follow up their PCP, you can put it here. So for those of us that work in outpatient before, if you notice some provider keep getting stuff about patient, this is where they fill it out. So if their patient was seen in the ED or was admitted for any reason, they can put him to follow up with their provider for 1 week or 2 month appointment. It's going to send to the provider clinic, and also they also notify their provider, their PCP, if the patient is admitted, if the PCP or the patient fill that in during registration. So this is one click if we want to make appointment, but we're not going to be making appointment today. And then instruction. So this is also where you want, if any instruction you have, if they have the online portal, this is where you're going to put it in. This patient doesn't have online portal. We can ask to send him an email to sign up for his online portal here, and they're going to send him an email link on how to sign up for online portal. And this is the after visit summary I'm showing you guys. Let's preview what we have there. So discharge, it said the discharge order reconciliation is not completed. So let's see how to complete this. But besides this that is not completed, the patient has an outstanding discharge milestone, okay? So, but every other thing we did, you can see the medication list here. And you can see all the stuff I put in for the patient. They're going to be in here. And then we can select the printer to print out whatever we want to discharge here. So, but let's try and address every issue, which is the discharge milestone and the other one. So give me 1 second. Let's go back to the navigator. So this is discharge milestone here. We can stop it here. accept, and this should take care of this. Let me see. See, the first one went away, and this one, we still have the discharge order reconciliation is not completed. Let's go to the discharge order reconciliation. And you will get this a lot. They want to discharge a patient, and they kind of like, oh, what happened? I can't discharge a patient for some reason. So all those red sign, they have to go in there to fill out to be able to discharge the patient. So where's the med details? So I'm looking for the discharge order reconciliation. So maybe it's in the orders. Let's go there. We have to fill the med rec. Let's see. Continue. All med. Okay. Markers reviewed. Provider complete. Okay. So there's this med rec here that is not letting us discharge the patient, but I think only the provider can do that. So for some reason, the nurse doesn't have the access to do that, and that's you get that a lot from the inpatient, because most due to the they're inpatient, and depending on what is happening, the nurse doesn't have access to do most of it, especially when it comes to medication. With this med reconciliation, the provider has to sign up on it, and then mark it as review. So the nurse does theirs, and once the nurses are done with theirs, the provider done theirs, and then put in the discharge order and then discharge the patient. But does that make any sense? Do you guys have any questions? Hello? Are you guys with me?
Yes, yes,
okay.
Yes.
Okay, do you guys have any question?
Can you click on the ED trackboard?
ED trackboard, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh no, on top, right beside the lookup, patient lookup.
Okay, ED trackboard. Okay. So this is this is more of the ED trackboard, the emergency department. They use this, and then because today we're not covering ASAP, we're mostly covering the med surge for inpatient. But you can also do the ED trackboard if there's any patients you want to put here. This is all the patient. The one they admit to your department will be here. So this is one they admitted, and if you want to admit any of them here, you can select the one you want to admit by click on it. You can transfer them to your department. So depending on what the workflow is, sometimes they discharge them and then readmit them in your department. But mostly this is just like for the emergency department trackboard.
Okay. What about the OR and procedural area?
OR is mostly once you're doing a case, you're doing a surgery. So uptime and anesthesia use that functionality.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I showed you guys is mostly med surg and then ICU. Whenever they transfer a patient to you, these are the workflow of a nurse to be able to take care of the patient.
Okay. Clinical calculator. What is that? What do you use that for?
So this is just to calculate some kind of like the IV drip. If they're not sure how many doses to give and all that, this is a function to use to calculate all those stuff.
Okay. What about my report?
My report is the same as everyone. If you want to conduct any report, so for instance, ABS follow-up. If you want to report based on medication the patient is on, you can easily create a report here. This is and the first one is inpatient administration medication reconciliation. So if you want to provide that trending dashboard, so this is just a different report to help you, to help you with the information on the patient. So look at your dashboard here. Some of the report are already in this dashboard.
Okay. My reports, can we click on that? Oh, that's one we did already. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say a nurse is about to do a shift change. She has done her 12 hours. She's about to go home. Where does she go to do that shift change? Or even you?
Yeah. So the same thing. They go to the brain, for instance.
Okay.
You know, on the brain they can sign out. So like now, I'm done with the class. It's the end of my shift. I just sign out of this. It automatically sign me out from my patient.
Okay.
And then I go to patient list. I'm done, and all I have to do is click on sign out. So you're not currently signing because I already signed out from the brain. It's automatically sign me out of here as well. So once I sign out, means I'm done with my shift.
Okay. So you don't have to do anything else for the person that is taking over from you.
Yeah, of course. Once, because the chat nurse is assigning people to different stuff. So once they assign them, once you're done with your shift, you can put it that your shift is ending. You sign out. Someone else, the other person already knows you'll be taking care of those patients. They sign in. So whatever you've documented for the patient, all there for them to take over.
Okay, sounds good.
What of the okay, so
no, go ahead.
what of the in basket for the nurses?
Yeah, the same way. Here, I think I don't have much in basket here. I just have chat completion, and that's because it's in inpatient. Inpatient, the provider get most of the in basket. The nurse, they do some. They can do patient staff messages, things like that. This open patient chat. So with this, there isn't much here in this in basket here, and mostly because the inpatient nurses don't really. I won't say they don't really work on in basket. They do, but not as much as the outpatient. But mostly the provider do most of the in basket stuff here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any other question? And like I said, it's going to make more sense by the time we do, because time doesn't permit us to kind of go over the provider and the nurse together, because provider and nurse kind of work hand in hand. Like, when the nurse admit the patient, they put everything in, they send it to the provider look at the patient, they put in the medication, the nurse release the medication, the provider put in the discharge order, they reconcile everything from their hand, sign the order, the nurse goes to the sign and out order, they put in the order, they administer it, they document it in the map, and then, they just kind of work together. So whenever we cover the provider aspect, you're going to see a different view. And I didn't go through us notes and all that, and that's because the notes section and all that the provider take care of. So next week, I'm going to, work on the notes. It's almost the same thing as the notes in inpatient and in outpatient, but the difference is the view is different. You see the note? With this note, you create a progress note, a consult note, procedure note, HMP, discharge note. Provider does all that. Emergency, APC, care, the provider does all of that. And then although because we're covering the med surg, we wouldn't be covering pre-op and all those notes because they do that in the surgical area. But the HMP, we're going to cover the progress note. We're going to cover a consult is like, let's say, a provider calls someone else to help with a consult. We're working as a med surg. We might call a different specialty to come and work as a consult for our patient. They come in, they review the patient, they put in a consult note. It's all going to be linked to this encounter. So, but the provider aspect is more interesting, and I'll see if I can cover it next week, and if not next week, we can cover it some other time. So, depending on what any of you guys are assigned to for your next go live, if you guys are assigned to what is it called, outpatient, and then maybe if I know definitely some people are assigned to outpatient, some people are assigned to inpatient. So we're gonna maybe work 1 hour on outpatient, 1 hour on inpatient. Maybe even give additional time just to make sure we're able to help everybody out. Of course, you guys can reach out to me anytime. And then moving forward, I would like us to start engaging more with the group chat, so that any question you guys ask me, it's there. So that someone else that asks a similar question wouldn't ask me the same question. They could just go to the to the group chat and get the same answer. And I know like a couple of us have been here, have done a couple of go live, you know, and they also have so much information they can share. So instead of me answering all the question, anyone that knows the answer, that is sure of the answer, can also answer. You know, this is where the best way of learning is teaching. Once you teach other people, you're able to learn. We can kind of make the group more active and also help each other out as well. Does that make sense?